Hey everybody, J Ball, Blue Jays Outdoors. Some of you have probably seen like this stuff real quick in some of my other videos that I've made down here or some other posts. You might be wondering, what in the world are all these buckets and barrels and boxes for? Well, this is all the stuff that I use to make Blue Jays maple syrup. That's right. This is some of my really good golden delicate syrup. Check out how clear that is. That's like my favorite kind to make. It's one of the toughest ones to make. Mrs. Blue Jay and I like these bottles, but we're not sure if we should start selling them. They make a good gift around Christmas, but shipping glass is always tricky. So what I want to do with this video today, like I told you guys in the very beginning, I'm going to give you a full, no holds barred look into what it takes for me to make Blue Jays maple syrup. So what I need to do is I need to get a count on all my bottles. That's probably the most important thing I have to do right now, because I want to make sure I have enough bottles for the syrup that I'm going to make this year. I probably have enough left over from last year, not sure, but I have to get a count on that. So I'll show you guys my spreadsheet that I use to keep track of all that. I'm very OCD about this stuff, so I know exactly how many caps, how many bottles for the different size bottles. I have all that stuff already figured out. I do my conversions from milliliters to ounces so that I know exactly how many gallons of syrup worth of bottles I have just in case. So that's in these boxes here. And then I know I've got to get another hydrometer because I broke my hydrometer last year. I'll explain what that is later in another episode. I need to get a count of my taps, make sure I've got enough taps because I cut all my taps off last year, so we're going to have all new taps this year. So it seems like a lot of stuff, but really in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a ton of stuff because I'm a very small producer. Like I said, I do about 150 to 170 taps a year, only make about 25 gallons of syrup. There are producers out there that make more syrup in 15 minutes than I make in an entire season. So it's not a really big operation, looks like a lot of stuff, but anyway, I'll quit babbling. Let me get some of this stuff laid out and show you guys exactly what we're dealing with. Okay, so let me show you what I'm dealing with. So here are my 1 pint plastic new bottles. Okay, so these are all Michigan bottles. You can actually get these with any kind of state you want on them. But these are my new bottles, and I know that because there's no date code. I put a date code on the bottom of every bottle. If you guys ever get syrup from me, you will see a date code because I separate all my syrup by batch. That way I can keep track of it. So these are all the pint. See, 1 pint plastic bottle, 16 fluid ounces, 473 milliliters. And then I've got all my quart bottles in here as well. So these are the 1 quart. These are 32 fluid ounces or 946 milliliters. And then I have my used bottles. So these are the bottles that I'll use for, say, Mrs. Blue Jay's and I's stock, or, you know, stuff that I'm not going to sell, because here again, you can see the date code on the bottom of this. So you can see this is batch 10, very dark, 20 is when I made this one in 2020. So yeah, I do label them. I've got to put a small producer label on the bottle as well because I am a small producer, so I put that on there. So I've got all my used bottles, and I've got all my new bottles that haven't been used. The nice thing about both these bottle sizes is they use the same cap. So this is a food grade cap that comes with the double seal. So when you heat the syrup up to bottle it, this ring actually slips around the top of the neck. And there's a glue in here, a food grade glue, and this is what glues that seal on, is the heat from the syrup. So when I tighten this down, it actually creates a food grade seal. So there's actually 2 seals. There's this seal that stays in the bottle, and there's also this same seal up inside the cap. So that's one of the reasons why syrup can last so long, is because when we seal it, we follow, just like any other food grade producer, we follow specific guidelines. So what I need to do is I need to get a count on how many pints I have, how many quarts, and how many used I have, because I use this handy spreadsheet right here, which is probably going to be hard to see, but I have a count on all of my bottles, so I know exactly how many bottles I have on hand, how many I need to order, how many ounces I have of all that kind of stuff. So let me start filling this out, and then let me show you guys what this looks like once I have a count on all my bottles. Okay, so now that I've got my final count on all my new bottles and my used bottles, let me show you guys the spreadsheet that I've created over the last probably, 4 seasons. Still trying to kind of fine tune it. It was web-based there for a while, but I pulled it off web, and now it's just a standalone Excel spreadsheet. So I didn't really have a guide to go by. I do some of this stuff at work, So I just started throwing some numbers and some calculations in and just trying to organize this to make it easy as possible, understand what I have and what I need to order. So let's check this out. Okay, so this is always kind of tough to do when the camera's in front of the laptop. So what I want to show you guys here is this is my spreadsheet. So pay no attention to really the bottle prices at all. Stuff changes every year. But what I've got is I've got my milliliter value of these bottles. And then I've got the quantity on hand, quantity on order, bottle prices. But here's the big thing. Here's the conversion that I get to milliliters from ounce. But then here's the amount of bottles I have on hand. So right now I've got 49 pint unused plastic bottles and 65 quarts. And then I've got 11 used pints and 13 used quarts. So if I erase these two, you'll see that I only have enough bottles on hand, and that's including these other Maple Leaf and these other Gingerbread Men bottles I have. I've got enough bottles on hand to bottle 24 and a quarter gallons of syrup. But this year, I plan on putting in about 180 taps. So this is the reason why I keep a pretty extensive logbook. So my average syrup per tap over the past 2 years, where I've really refined my process, the average syrup per tap that I get is about 0.16 gallons. So if I plan on doing 180 taps in 2021, that means I roughly will make about 28, 29 gallons of syrup based off my last two previous years. Don't pay attention to these two. These were kind of out there. I was still trying to figure out my process, and you guys can see this thing's pretty elaborate. I've got my hours I put in last year. I've got how many boils I did, how many hours I spent boiling, how many gallons of sap I boiled, what my boil rate was, how much syrup I made last year. So, like I said, this is a pretty extensive spreadsheet. I can see what my sap to syrup ratio is per year. I keep track of all this stuff. Average high-low temperatures, barometric pressures. Like I said, I keep a log of all of this stuff. So it might seem a little extensive, but if I can see changes in weather, or if I can see what adding 10 more taps is going to make it, worth my while, or adding an RO system or any of that kind of stuff. That's why I keep track of all this. So again, this is about 4 or 5 years in the making. Not perfect, but this is kind of the stuff that I look at. So now comes the really fun part. I've got to figure out how many bottles I need to buy to get to that, say, 30 gallons of bottles on hand. I probably will do 30 just to be safe. Typically when you buy these in bigger quantities, for me it's bigger quantities, 50 or 100, it gets a little bit more cost effective. But I really just wanted to give you guys a quick peek as to what stuff I track and manage, as far as, the caps, the bottles, and then my logbook, as far as I maintain, or I know my average syrup per tap, my sap per tap, the average pressure change, the high, the low. I see all that stuff, and I can take a deeper dive into that if you guys want. I'll probably do it just to kind of give you another look at it. But yeah, this is kind of the stuff that we maple syrup producers go through. And again, I wasn't handed any of this. I started this all from scratch. A lot of people that are bigger in the industry have been doing this stuff for a couple of generations. So I'm really learning as I go, and hopefully if you guys are interested in getting into maple syrup, you can kind of take some of the things that I do and incorporate those into your own processes, because this is a really fun hobby. And who knows, maybe one day it'll take off and I'll have a couple thousand taps, and I'll have vacuum lines and big mainline systems running in the woods. But right now I'm just not there yet. So I really appreciate all your guys' support. Again, without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this stuff. And I'm really passionate about showing you guys this process, and then showing you what it takes to make Blue Jays maple syrup. And what's really fun is you guys get to watch the entire process from start to finish. And then you can actually say, when you buy a bottle of Blue Jays maple syrup, I saw how this stuff was made. Now, how cool is that? So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Also, too, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. That's blue_J_maple_syrup. And remember, the easiest way to change your attitude is by showing gratitude. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.